Hello, welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Brian Michael.
And I'm Angela Yeager. And we have a great show for you this week. We have a raunchy comedy, an action spectacle, an obscure film. Well, we always have those. A French film and an Icelandic film. So, gosh, we're all over the place. And don't forget, if you're watching us, to make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and you'll be alerted whenever new episodes are posted. And every time you hit that button, what is it, Brian?
John Wick gets thrown through another plate of glass.
There you go. John Wick gets thrown through another plate of glass. So let's start off with our first movie. You saw a clip at the top of the show for Booksmart, in which two overachievers realize on the day before graduation that they should have partied more, and they set out to remedy that. The film stars Caitlin Dever as Amy and Beanie Feldstein as Molly, the two best friends who have the realization after overhearing a conversation that they have not partied at all. They have not taken any risks or broken any rules, and they thought they did it all to get into the highly, elite universities, and then they find out that their classmates have gotten into some of the same universities, their classmates who have partied and that they've looked down on with scorn. And now and the whole movie takes place over the course of one night, essentially, while they go from party to party and get themselves into trouble. So this is the directorial debut of the actress Olivia Wilde, who does a fine job of directing, and it's really, though, a lot of the movie is owed to the great chemistry between Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever as Amy and Molly. They have wonderful chemistry as friends, and it is a raunchy comedy. I wouldn't say that it's on the raunch level of something like a Superbad in terms of potential offensiveness, but it's very much a laugh-a-minute type movie, particularly if you're not easily offended.
So was it Caitlin Dever?
Dever. I think it was Dever. I might be butchering her name. She's a young
actress I've been watching for a long time. She was in Short Term 12, and she was also in a TV show yet again, with Justified. And I really, really like her acting. Here she gets to show her comedic chops. Very, very funny. So for right now, and I think after this movie, hopefully I was hoping it would change if this was a big, huge hit, that she would no longer be the actress from Justified. Although it's in the movie with Jonah Hill's sister, along with Carrie Fisher's daughter. But I don't think it's going to be, I think it's only a matter of time before we start to know their names, because there is a fantastic chemistry between these films. Yep. It's not doing well in the box office. I think it's going to become a cult hit, certainly, for sure. It doesn't have a really cool name like Superbad. And your husband mentioned that Booksmart doesn't sound like a movie most people want to go see. But I laughed through this whole movie, and I had one of the echoes behind me. When you're in a movie that people are laughing and the person repeats the thing that makes them laugh, so you get to hear the line twice. Well, sometimes people are laughing so hard that you can't hear what people said, and you rely on the echo behind you. So I really appreciated that guy doing it throughout the film.
Normally don't appreciate those people.
Normally I don't like that, but that one was, that is worked out really well. This is kind of like Superbad was, or an 80s films where they're going out to try to get partied and necessarily just get laid, though one of the characters was out her sophomore year. She is gay, and so has an interest in somebody else, and so that somewhat is just so she can talk to this girl, which I really appreciated that. But it's one of those films where they're trying to get from point A to point B and things get in the way, and those always aggravate me, so I just have to remind myself to take a breath and just relax. They're going to get there. It's going to be fun. And the detours along the way are absolutely hilarious. Yeah. Now, the criticism I've seen on this film was that it only shows, people with money. Of course, it's a movie, so it's written by 30-year-olds. So, yeah, of course, that's usually what you're going to see there. But the classmates that have an absurd amount of money, they kind of make fun of that because they don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And that one party that they have on a boat, which is absolutely hilarious. I thought that was one of there's so many great funny parts in this film. I thought that was really good. I had a problem at first when they had the gay characters in this film that were young men, and they were just very, very flamboyant. And I thought, gosh, that's such a stereotype.
That's almost an understatement.
And I thought, well, gosh, I wish they'd have shown a balance. Well, they did with the main character, and I forgot about that, and because that wasn't the attribute that defined her. And nor did it with the other ones. They just happened to be in drama.
It's more for the male characters,
But
there was
I really appreciated that, because here she was gay, but it wasn't like the main focus that she was coming out, that it was this, that it was.
Really, what I appreciated in general about the girls, and nice to see female characters, because usually female characters in comedies, it's all about getting the boy or about the relationship.
Yes.
Even if it was a comedy, you think of 16 Candles or Pretty. It was always about, will Molly Ringwald get the boy, or name the movie. It's always about, will she get the boy. And this movie, it's about their friendship, and it's very much like Superbad in that. It's sort of that melancholy, like this time period in your life coming to an end, going on to the next chapter. There's that element of it, but it's really about their friendship. It's really, they have love interest, but that's on the side. That's not the main arc. And so I think it's a really positive portrayal.
And to give Olivia Wilde some credit here, a lot more credit, there's a scene where they have a big, huge fight and the audio goes out.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that.
I didn't like that. I thought
that
it
was great, because
a little
it was like,
bit.
I thought, it was fun, because I knew what they were saying.
I know, but I wanted to see the acting there. And I thought this was actually one of my only main criticisms of the movies. I thought too many times she cut from the actors who were great and what they're doing into a pop song. Whether there was a scene where all of a sudden there was this tension, and then all of a sudden there's a pop song. And then that was another one there where she cut the action and went straight into a pop song. And she did that like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie. And I think it's kind of lazy directing. And also I just thought there was like too much of that in the movie, too much of the pop music.
I was going right along with the
I thought,
flow
gosh, what if they had done that in like one of the teen classics, like Dazed and Confused or whatever, and like that major moment, where Pink has like this revelation, all of a sudden they just like cut to a pop song. It would have ruined it. So I feel like they could have let the characters breathe a little bit more. I will say something about Gigi Lord, who is Carrie Fisher's daughter, for Star Wars fans out there. She is a smaller character in the movie, but steals almost every scene she's in. And you have to have a character like this in a good teen comedy, because you think of McLovin in Superbad. Actually, I thought of Dazed and Confused. I thought of Slater. Every time Slater comes into a scene, he's not a main character, but every time he comes in a scene, he steals that scene. And it's kind of a good trope of teen comedies, and one they upheld with this, because when she enters, she just steals every scene. As I called her the party girl character. She's this just ridiculous character. She's always just wasted, but she also has all these fantastical, mystical insights into everybody. So yeah, I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Oh,
not 4
kidding
stars. Though.
Me.
Not 4 stars.
I thought it was 4. I laughed so hard. I had such a good time with the people I came with the next day. When we saw the movie the next day, we were texting. We were already texting.
And
lines.
I think most of the flaws I found in it were in the directing, and I don't think I think Olivia Wilde has a lot of potential. I just think she made some amateur mistakes. I just felt like too many times that interrupting the emotional
for
arc.
a very forgettable actress, she made a very memorable movie.
Maybe that's a better role for her.
I think so.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next movie, which is John Wick 3, Parabellum, and we have a clip. Okay, you saw a clip for John Wick 3, Parabellum, and you'll have to watch the movie to find out what it means. They actually do explain it, unless you just speak that language.
Or you're me. You just had to explain it to me literally.
I just had to explain it to him because he didn't watch it in the movie. Even though the rest of us, Chris and I, were both, Parabellum. We pointed to the screen and you still missed it. So John Wick is on the run again, and this time he has a $14 million bounty on his head. So that's a lot. So he has to kill a lot of bad guys and fall, as you mentioned, get thrown into a lot of glass. And this time they kind of up the ante a little bit. We have some of the favorite characters played by Ian McShane and I'm going to forget his name, Lance
Stevenson, the basketball player?
No.
I'm so sorry. I was thinking of the other one. I guess blanked his name too. Wow.
Okay, wow. Well, it's contagious.
Look out, folks.
So Halle Berry has joined the cast this time around. And Lawrence Fishburne was in the previous one. That's not who I was trying to think of. But yes, Lawrence Fishburne is in this one again. So a lot of the people from the first 2 John Wick movies, as well as Halle Berry as an addition this time. And they give her some really nice scenes. She's got a really good action sequence where she gets to kick butt along with John Wick. I enjoyed this film. I would say that this is now, of course, the 3rd installment. And each one has gotten longer. Each one has the same amount of plot. When I say John Wick is on the run again, this is what he did in the first movie. He was on the run, he was mad, he was kicking butt. Yeah. It's great. The action sequences are choreographed and staged so well. It's very much like Asian martial arts movies, and I love that. And I would say the first half of this movie was pure enjoyment. The audience was screaming and clapping and really
people were cheering. Yeah.
The scene in the library, brilliant.
Fantastic.
The scene with the dogs, I thought was great. But then the second half, it starts to lose steam. Because you can only keep that up for so long, especially when you have almost no plot.
Well, we got the library scene. I now know how to kill somebody with a book. So be careful
watch out.
With me in the library.
Luckily, you never have a book available.
Well, a DVD case. It's the same kind of size, I've been told. So then there's another fight action sequence actually in an antique warehouse with the knives.
That one's also very. Oh, the stables. The stables is great.
The stables, it was the biggest laughs of the movie, and this one's actually a little funnier than the other ones. Yes. Because they do make a few dog jokes that people are like, over a dog, and he's like, yeah, over a dog. They don't know the full story. I would say when Halle Berry comes in, and it's nice to see her on a big screen. Boy, I haven't seen her since the X-Men movies, and before that it was Monsters Ball, Gattaca, or no, the Gattaca, it was Gothica. Anyway. It slows down right there, and that fight sequence with her goes on so incredibly long, and she's going around. There's only so many times I can watch a headshot done the same exact way. I don't know, Keanu Reeves just happens to be a better action star than her, or just hers was repetitive and that got a little long. I didn't like that too much.
Well, it's about at that point, and right after that is when I felt like it
then
lost
towards the end, there's a big, when I talk about the glass, that goes on too long.
Yes.
And then the final injury that kind of happens, that you mentioned just briefly, no. Please, give me a break.
You can only
suspend disbelief for so long, but I was like, oh, so those kind of killed it for me. I like this movie. I can recommend it barely for 3 stars because I do enjoy these so much. This one it really is 20 minutes too long. It really is 20 minutes too long.
See, I'm right for a change about the length.
Well, it was just like, okay, yeah, here we're doing the same thing over and again. And look, she's getting her dogs, and I'm like, don't put the dogs in the fight. It makes me really nervous. I didn't like that. But they have a great joke with, and he says, don't do this, and she's like, they did this. And he was like, yeah, I get it. And I thought that was, very funny. But yeah, Angelica Houston, Ian McShane. I mean, you can just watch them on screen all day. Ian McShane could just read the phone book. I love that. The look of this movie, the opening scenes of this film, every single color is splashed on the screen, whether it's reflected in the wet streets, which are all wet. It almost looks like Batman and Robin, or what was the Batman Forever with Joel Schumacher, where they had all that color and all of those frames, and it just looks horrible. They do the same thing in this, but it looks amazing. So
it's
the
a good looking
aspect
movie.
of this, you don't have a lot of dialogue for John Wick because Keanu Reeves doesn't need it. Not because he can't say dialogue, because he just doesn't need it. You give some great choreography.
Choreography is great.
The emotional drive for the first one, totally get it. The second one, I'm like, okay. This one, I was like, well, okay, so now we're fighting to try to get her back. I kind of get that. And now the next one they kind of set up, I'm like, well, okay.
Now he sort of
I don't have the personal vigor that I had in the first one.
This one, it's more, it's really like not less of him having any sort of vengeance and him more just trying to keep himself alive.
Alive, yeah.
And I liked that the way it worked at the beginning. There's the countdown with the clock when they say the bounty is going to start. And so he has this, I like action movies when they time it to something like that because you have a very...
counting down timer, really?
Well,
to a bomb?
Yeah,
No.
well, but this they have it for
mean.
if it was the whole movie, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But I liked the way they did that at the beginning because it gave it a lot of momentum. But then the movie just dragged so much in that last half. So I agree with you. I think 20 to 30 minutes shorter. And I know they have a big budget now, and they feel like, oh, we can go long, but don't.
Yeah.
Even though you can.
And I like that in a closed quarter when it's in a big quarter with the Halle Berry fight. I was like, a sniper can just knock them out, right? You don't have to run in one by one with a gun. It didn't make sense. You needed a closed quarter like in the Red Circle, like the club they were in the first one. That make more sense. Okay, so we'll move on because I'm being told to. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is Buried Treasures. Ooh, boy, these are films that, well, you don't know how we got them, but we found them and we got them. And sometimes, it's legal. So we had Milos Forman's 1971 film, Taking Off. You've never heard of it? You have now. And this tells us, this is about a parent whose daughter has ran away. And they actually go looking for her, and they bump into other parents that have lost children, and they're actually at an audition at one point in time is where the kids are at, but the parents go to the support group, and they discover drugs. I mean, that's really what this movie is about. It's just them sitting back and chilling out and smoking marijuana. That's smoking marijuana cigarettes? Is that what the kids say these days?
Well, and there's a lot of cutting back to the kids, the young people trying out for these folk auditions, singing auditions.
Which is weird because Carly Simon's in there. And
very young Kylie Simon and Kathy Bates. I don't know if you recognize her.
Young Kathy Bates is in this. Well, actually, it's a who's who of 70s. It's got Buck Henry, it's got Georgia Engel, it's got Audrey Lindley, Paul Benedikt, Vincent. Ooh, a big name there, but you know who I'm talking about when you look at the movie. So, yeah, this does not age well. This is certainly a film of its time, and I look at it now, it's kind of like Reefer Madness. You kind of watch it and go,
I think I liked it more than you did.
Holy moly, we watched this together.
No, we didn't.
Really?
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
No, I watched it at home with the
Oh,
hubby. You
God.
watched it on your own. So what I
Really?
liked about this is he's making a point about how hypocritical the parents. The parents are very straight-laced, okay, and they're just fretting about their daughter who's taken off. And there's all these like there's all these like uptight suburban parents that have still performed the support group, and they're all freaking out because of their wayward hippie kids or whatever. And the daughter turns out to be. She comes in at the end and sees her parents who have gone wild by that time, very clear-eyed and not doing anything crazy at all. She's actually just out trying out for folk music auditions. Her parents, on the other hand, go totally goofy, just trying pot for the first time, and go crazy afterwards.
What's worse, me saying marijuana cigarettes or you saying goofy?
Well, they get pretty goofy. They go crazy. Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's very interesting because at first I was watching this, I thought, well, how do you know this is a Milos Forman film? And I thought all of his other films, it's the same. You know, this is his first American movie. He had done all these great new wave movies in Czechoslovakia, Fireman's Ball, Loves of a Blonde, and Fireman's Ball has this movie that's a satire, and it's making fun of, and it's very suspicious of authority.
Correct.
So then he comes over to America and he resumes the same themes. It's very interesting. You still have this sort of thing about the straight-laced people and the authority figures, which then proceeds to one of his next films, which is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I don't know. It's very interesting. There's been talk that this movie actually might finally get re-picked up now that he's passed away recently and might get reissued. So I didn't love it. Don't get me wrong.
Hopefully it comes with drugs because that might help the film.
It's very dated, but I actually thought the
I
beginning
was
sequence was kind of interesting the way it was edited and everything. But at first I thought, what is going on? What's going to happen in this movie? So.
No, I like the ending because the credits followed shortly thereafter, but the dinner conversation
So what,
was
one
fun.
star for you?
We didn't watch this together?
No.
Oh, maybe it was a mirror.
What did you, 1 star?
Oh.
1 star?
No, 1.5.
1.5, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so.
Oof. But yeah. All right, so we'll move on to his distinguished classics. That's where a movie that I put together because it's mine. I'm going to butcher it. Le Cercle Rouge? No, Le Cercle Rouge. There we go. By Jean-Pierre Melville. And this is the director of Le Samurai, Army of Shadows, a movie I loved so much I had to see twice to remember I saw it, but I did really love the movie. And then Bob Lefebvre. I'm going to butcher French left and right.
And Au revoir les enfants, my favorite film of his. No, that was Louis Mel.
No, that's no.
What else did Melville do?
Well, the only ones I wrote down are the ones I remember.
Oh,
so
okay. Sorry.
What is this, Jeopardy? So this is a gentleman who just got out of prison, and he meets an escaped con as well as an ex-cop, and they form a team together and put on a jewelry heist. They perform a jewelry heist. And the thing that's really great about Melville is that
so many things.
If he were to film a McDonald's commercial, it wouldn't just be like, here's the burger. It would be 15 minutes long because it would show them making the however long time it makes to make a burger would be the long as the commercial would be, because he shows every single step along the way, which sounds monotonous and boring, and it is not. This film moves at what today would be considered a snail's pace, but it is so riveting. It pulls you in. It reminds me like of Day of the Jackal, which is a Zinnemann film, not his, but it shows them doing something, and you're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? And then later on, you're like, oh,
then
okay.
you see the payoff.
Why are you making your own bullet?
He's
That makes no
interested
sense.
in the process.
Why would you make your own bullet? And then it shows up, you're like, oh. And then the heist itself is like 20 minutes of total silence.
There's no dialogue.
They don't speak because it's being recorded, so they don't want to have any way to identify
They're
themselves.
really
They
smart
cover their
thieves.
face.
They're actually really good.
Really intelligent. It is so fantastic. Now, when you talk about having a ticking time bomb and showing ways to build suspense, this is just simple saying, this is what we are, this is what we're going to do, here we're going to perform it, and I'm at the edge of my seat going, oh, something's going to happen, something's going to happen.
And you know
don't
something
expect
bad is going to happen, yeah.
Well, no, you expect something like a trope. Someone's going to, I don't know, they're going to drop something and it's going to give things away. No, these guys are really good. They're professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing a great job of it. And it's just riveting. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes of, just
I thought it went by
talking.
faster. It went by
It
a lot
did.
faster than John Wick 3 in some ways, because there's so much going on, like you said, because he's showing us all the steps. And you think, there was a movie last year, American Animals, was that the name, about the young guys who, they studied all these heist movies to try to learn, and then they do a horrible job pulling it off. And I don't know if this is one of the ones they studied, but they should have, because these guys really do it well. I mean, they have it very well executed.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, things do go wrong, but it's actually not really to any fault of their own, per se. I guess you could just say it's the way things...
give things away, but yeah. It's very frustrating. By the time things happen, I was like, that's not fair.
The other thing that he does that's so different than American heist movies is that he brings together these three characters, but it's not like here's this guy, here's this person, they're all friends, and this one's got this personality or whatever. They're not friends. They have no connection. These three guys.
They meet. They have a cute meet practically.
Well, the one guy, yeah. Because Alan Delon's character, Corey, which also I was like, that's the most not thief name ever. They kept saying Corey throughout the movie, and I kept going, is that his name? But that's the character's name, Corey. Yeah, he meets one of the guys because he's actually, can we give that away, that he's actually held up by him? And then he's like, hey, you're thief like me. Okay, let's do this. And then he says, we need one more to do this. And then they find this other guy, who's played by Yves Montand, who is fantastic in this. Very famous.
Just awesome.
French actor. So really good. Melville, one of my favorite directors, one of the really underrated ones of the new wave. So check out this film. If you can find it, it is on Criterion and is available elsewhere. He also did Les Samurai, as you mentioned, Bob Lafombeur, and lots of other great films. So he just makes great. I haven't seen a bad movie by him yet.
He's just awesome.
So, okay, we'll move on to our next movie, which is her fresh picks. Sort of like Brian's distinguished classics, these are new movies that I pick that came out this year in theaters or somewhere that we missed the first time around. Either for whatever reason we missed them when they came to the theater, or sometimes they just don't come to the theater at all. Yeah, this one we actually did see in the theater, but we didn't get to review it when it first was out. So now we're going to review it. We're going to review it now because we really wanted to talk about it. It's called Woman at War. And this is an Icelandic film about a woman named Halle, who is a determined environmental activist, suddenly must make a very big choice between the personal and the political. And I'm remaining vague for a reason, because this is a movie I went into not really knowing anything about it, and I feel like that's a really good way to go into it. Because I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, I know, but I never know how to hook somebody to go and see the film other than saying, we really enjoyed it. But
we took our whole crew here at Real Film Snobs to go see this movie as our film appreciation event. So we like to, of course, I don't know if I can say this on the air with the rules, but I'm going to say it anyway and hope I don't get in trouble. But thank Dark Side Cinema for hosting our crew. And they showed this movie. But, it was a comedy and a drama, which is kind of refreshing. You don't find that too often. Yeah,
I didn't know anything about this one going into it because I let the crew pick the movie. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll go to the movies. It's fun. I wanted to go to the dark side. Go to the dark side anyway. But yeah, this is intelligent people. Boy, it's so nice seeing smart people. No one gets kicked in the crotch. No one does anything foolish. There's no big dumb broad comedy. There's no dumb person in the film. She's very smart. She is very much proud of her land and her country, and doesn't want to have some type of environmental change that's going to be bad for it, and so she takes action. A little extreme, but I really enjoyed her perseverance, and she's not dumb about it. And there's another person that plans ahead of time. We don't know exactly what she's planning for, but with today's technology, you got to plan for an awful lot, y'all, especially drones. And I really appreciated what
that
the things
scene
that she did
great.
Was so good. And you really like her. She's not just some extremist, or probably in some ways people would consider extremist, but you really like what she's, you like her as a person. Some other things now, then her personal life gets involved, because some other decisions that she'd made earlier in life now are coming up on her. And I thought that was fantastic, because now it's like, okay, if I do this, it's going to mess this up, and now I can't have both. And so I thought that was really cool.
That was amazing.
And the way this movie ends is so good. It's such a movie ending. I mean, come on.
Oh, no, it is.
Loved it.
But it was very satisfying.
Oh, gosh, I thought it was a
And for those people out there, like my parents, who like things wrapped up in a bow, it actually does.
Beautifully wrapped up.
But it's clever wrapped up.
Very smart.
It didn't make me go, oh, no, but I liked that.
You kind of get everyone going, at the same time going, oh, I know what that... That's
when
you
realize,
you're kind of nudging the person next to you going, I don't know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. Yeah, it's very rewarding, and I really enjoyed her determination and drive, and being in someone else's head, that doing something that I would not necessarily do, and get to see their world.
And talk about a great female-centered movie that's not about romance or anything. This is a woman, she's got a job, she's like the community choir director, she's smart, she's interesting, she's funny, and then she's an environmental activist, and then she meets this some other local people who are kind of on her side, and she strikes up a friendship with this one local guy, but it doesn't really, it's just really nice.
He knows when to be there. He's because movie, which is
because
fine.
Movie. Movie.
I'm good with that.
And you get to see some great Icelandic scenery, so never anything wrong with that. Really gorgeous scenery. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This one really flew under the radar. I just think it's hard to market something that's so odd and it's.
Isn't the same cinematographer as God's Own Country? Is that what this one was?
I don't
I think
know.
it was that one.
Was it this the same one? I'm not
I
sure.
can't remember, but it was really good cinematography. You just
really great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and the main actress, I can't say her name, but it's Haldora is her first name. I won't even try the last name because every Icelandic person out there watching will know I butchered it, but she is fantastic, and she has to be because she holds the screen every minute, and she even plays another character in addition to.
Yes, it's a dual role.
She plays 2 roles in the movie, so which
this
is not easy
fresh
to do.
pick. You know, the other ones we talked about are kind of hard to find. You know, might be able to rent them or find them or look
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
local library.
this one should
this
be
is
out.
a newer one, so hopefully it should be available digitally or streaming soon.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah, it should be available on DVD or streaming, and so hopefully people can try to find it if they missed it in the theater, which unfortunately I think a lot of people did. But it did do very well in Corvallis, is what Paul said, so that's good. So I think the environmental thing.
Ahead of the curve with a soon-to-be classic Booksmart is the movie. Then you can say, I saw it in the theater.
So that's your big pick for the week.
Well, I mean, aside from the Red Circle, yeah.
Yeah, well, I would definitely recommend Booksmart over John Wick 3, which I enjoyed, but it's just barely it's a 3-star movie. Yeah. So, okay, so we will wrap up. So, yeah, as Brian said, Booksmart, we both highly recommend. Brian's giving it 4 stars. I'm giving it 3.5. John Wick 3, we both recommend, but the series has got to watch out because it's starting to slide. Oh, boy, my cards all askew as usual. Buried Treasures, Brian did not like, but I can recommend mildly.
Yeah.
Le Cercle Rouge, we both liked thoroughly. Check out Melville's films, and Women at War, we both recommend. So, as always, you can go to our website at realfilmsnobs.com. You can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. You can listen to us on KMUZ Radio. You can always watch us, of course, here at CCTV in Salem, as well as Scan TV in Silverton and KM TV in Corvallis. I'd like to thank our wonderful crew, our amazing sponsors, and, of course, my delightful and handsome co-host. Yeah. I'm really buttering them up for something. I'm not sure what yet. But as always, have a great day and great movies.